Yeah, I am definitely beginning to live my you story. I think it is a journey. It doesn't just happen, and it's been a definite journey for me from childhood up to the last recent years. Really has been a struggle. I spent much of my life trying to be what I wasn't, and didn't realize at the time, because I was living up to other people's expectations. Yeah. And that all started, I think, as a child. I can remember the day when my world changed forever. And that was when I was 12 years old. And I didn't recognize my dad anymore. He found out that my mum was having an affair, and he became really angry, really manipulative, quite mean spirited, and he was hell bent on destroying her. And he kind of did. He did. And it was all because of a divorce. So they were preoccupied. They got divorced. They got lost in their own private war. But I had two broken parents. I didn't have anybody to rely on, and I had no control of what was happening around me. And I felt very empty, very alone, very insignificant. I was very scared, very lonely. And I just wanted to be comforted. I just wanted to be told that everything would be all right, held tightly and feel safe. But instead, I fell into a really deep, dark, terrifying place. It was all too much. There was lots happening at that time. And, nobody was listening. And, I tried to take my own life. I just wanted the pain to go away. And I waited and I waited, and the pain didn't go away. And I realized that nobody was coming to save me. And then I had to do everything for myself. I couldn't rely on anybody. I had to, control the outside world. And I kind of decided, I think, in that moment, that it was down to me. I'd go it alone. I had to make everything right. I had to make my mum happy. I had to make my sister happy. And I had to make the pain go away for everybody. Then maybe the pain would stop for me. So that's what I did. I lived, a good 15, 20 years of fixing everything on the outside and making everybody happy. But the pain inside of me still wasn't going away. So, I took on a very high pressure job. I had what people thought was successful, tick the boxes. Cassie has everything. She had a corner office. She had an extra zero on her salary. She had all these lovely things. I would escape on, big holidays, splash out, because I just needed to escape. But I never really escaped, because I took it with me. And then I made everyone else unhappy as well around me. It was really hard work. It was really, really stressful. And there became a point when I was carrying my son, and I shared a little bit about this at the conference. I was carrying my son at 22 weeks. I found out that he was going to be born with a cleft lip and palate. And my whole world collapsed again. And, I felt very helpless, very confused, very alone, because this time I couldn't make anything better. The Cassie, the fixer, who always, achieved things and did things, couldn't actually fix this problem. And I had to admit that I needed help. So really that was my first part of my journey of being me, because I had to discover who I was. As up to this point, I didn't know who I was. I thought I knew. But actually deep down inside, I was just suppressing stuff. And, I had a lot of help and a lot of support. And, I think the biggest thing for me was learning to play to my strengths. Learning, who am I? What do I love doing? What makes my heart sing? What could I do all day long that just made me feel so happy and actually fed me rather than taking things away from me? And, so that's why I do what I do now. And for being me, what being me means to me is there is no resistance. So it's as much as a feeling than anything. And I've learned to connect with my feelings. I think before that total sat nav was switched off. It was only if a major event happened that I felt something. And so I've connected with my feelings, and I you know, spend time with myself. I've got comfortable spending time with myself. You know, and I've learned the hard way that actually being me, you know, it's about self-acceptance. It's about self-love. Yeah. And, you know, the expectations I had of myself in the past were higher than I'd ever have of anybody else. And it was sitting down and really understanding that all that little talk that happens in our heads, you know, what that conversation basically turned out, you know, if I kind of looked at it and reflected on it, it was a real like teacher telling the child off, you know, really putting the child down. So for me, being me is about really understanding who I am, my self-ideals. You know, who do I want to be? I want to be me, but I want to grow. Yeah, I'm always growing. I love learning. I love connecting with beautiful people like you girls are. And there's always something to learn. And it's about, you know, being really kind and loving, but more important, being kind. What I've learned is being kind to myself. And I think that's been the biggest learning I've ever had.